G'day folks, it's Phil from 15-Minute Guitar Practice. Today we're doing a shootout between this Epiphone 339 and this Epiphone Sheraton Pro II. So let's get started after this cool little jingle I did. Okay, so what I'm going to do with these two bad boys is basically plug them directly into my amp. I'm going to use exactly the same amp settings. It's just going to be the guitar, a lead, and my amp. Okay, and I'm going to play a phrase on one, and then the next time you hear that phrase, it will be on the other guitar. And I'm going to match all the other things. So the tone, the volume control, and the pickup selector will all be the same. So let's get into that. you good night. Those of you who are familiar with this channel know that I don't do gear reviews and I don't do these kind of head-to-head shootouts. It only happens, just so happens, that my friend Tim lent me this, and he happened to buy this guitar almost exactly the same time, literally within a few days of me buying this guitar, and so it's a rare opportunity for me to compare the two. So firstly, let's look at the 339. Just for some context, I was in the market for a guitar like this because all the guitars I own are Strats. And I love the single coil sound, but sometimes I get in a jazzier mood and I kind of, want a jazzier tone. And I've been approximating a jazzier tone on my Strat for years and years, and then finally I just needed to do something about it. So the things on my wish list were, has to have humbuckers, okay, needs to have that kind of fatter, rounder, not necessarily jazzier tone, because obviously these guitars get used for a lot more than just jazz, but that sort of humbucking sound was key to driving my decision to go look for a new guitar. So other things that I really wanted, I wanted a rosewood fretboard because I really don't like that Palfaro stuff. It's kind of a pooey brown rather than like a dark wood. So that's a very superficial visual thing for me. And I also really wanted a guitar with kind of pearloid square inlays, because all my guitars have dot inlays and I just fancied a change. So as you can see, this 339, it doesn't get everything on my wish list ticked. It does have the dot inlays. The difference between a 339 and a 335 is basically there is less wood. A 335's got like a fatter butt basically and comes out wider, but this is a little more trimmed down. Now, if you're thinking about buying a guitar like this, you might be thinking, should I get a hollow body or should I get a semi-hollow body? And what's the difference? Well, really the difference is the sound, and particularly if you're playing live, it's tolerance for feedback. Now, complete hollow bodies can't really take a lot of volume because the whole thing resonates and it can feedback really easily. Now, you might think, awesome, I want to be in a rock band with loads of feedback. That's a good thing, but actually it's not very controlled feedback. Okay, so you're going to have a few problems. I actually tried out a Joe Pass Emperor model in the shop, and I wasn't playing loud. I was playing, kind of shop volume rather than gig volume, and it was feeding back in a way I thought, oh, no, I can't deal with this. If you are trying to figure out which guitar is fully hollow body and which is semi-hollow, the trick is to look at the bridge pieces here. If you've got bridge pieces that obviously are like punched straight down, then that's a semi-hollow body because there's like a solid piece of wood that runs all the way down through here, and this gets drilled into that. Obviously these bits on the side are hollow, but the main core of it is a solid piece of wood, and that helps control that. So that's what that was a good tip, I thought, because anything that's kind of strapped over the top or hanging down in a kind of, those triangle kind of shaped things, those are fully hollow body guitars. All right, so this is the 339. It's got Pro Alnico Classic humbuckers by Epiphone. It's got a pick guard, it's got a three-way pickup switch. Okay, at the top, it's got your standard Epiphone headstock, and don't know what these are made of, but they're pretty standard. So this was bought off the shelf, and the Sheraton was also bought off the shelf, straight out of the shop, nothing special set up. Okay, now this action is really high, and I'm off the shelf, not 100% sure about its intonation. The action's a little bit high, and that might be affecting its intonation. The Sheraton, however, although it's also bought straight out of the shop, has a much lower action, and I don't know, obviously they don't set it up when they put it on the shelf, but it just plays much nicer. Okay, so here are my general conclusions about these two instruments. The first one is the 339 is a little bassier. The pickups are different. They're humbuckers, but I think they're kind of Epiphone built rather than Gibson built. The Sheraton has the Gibson built ones. And that, to me, definitely is the distinctive difference. You can hear the difference, not so much in the tone, but the balance of the frequencies. The 339 is a lot bassier, in my opinion. In terms of playability, off the shelf, the 339 has a much higher action, and for me, that's causing problems because I'm not 100% convinced of the intonation when I'm holding down open chords and things like that. Some of the strings are sounding a little bit out. Now, granted, that could probably be solved very easily with a setup. The other thing is the neck. So for me, the feel of the 339 is that it's a slightly narrower neck. Now, I don't believe this to be actually technically true, but for me, the strings feel closer. When I was playing the chorus for Summer of '69, for example, I was actually choking off some of the notes that were supposed to be ringing because my fingers were kind of bunched up and I'm feeling like they were this, closer together than they were on the fretboard of the Sheraton. Overall, for me, the Sheraton feels like it plays better. The strings are a comfortable distance apart for me. It does seem to be brighter generally. Even when I was going for the jazzier tone, it will get the jazzier tone. It's just you have to roll off a lot more treble. Both of them are great instruments. You could hear the sustain once I started cranking up the amp to distortion, how they've got that real good fat round sound that everyone's looking for in rock and roll. And so if I had to buy one today, I probably would buy the Sheraton just because it feels better in my hand. I don't think there's any difference in neck radius. I don't think there's any difference in scale length. I think there's that kind of unknown feel thing. When you hold the guitar, some feel right, some feel not quite right. And there's not much in it, but if we were talking about my gut instinct and just playing them side by side, I would be buying the Sheraton. The thing the Sheraton's got, the other stuff has got, it's got gold hardware, so it looks a bit more bling. And although that really probably does nothing for the tone, as guitar players, we do buy with our eyes. It's weird because we're led by our ears, but if there's a red one and a blue one, we'll always pick our favourite colour one, won't we? I really didn't mind what colour or finish the one I bought was in. What I was after was the tone, but lots of other guitar players have asked me, oh, why did you get the vintage Sunburst one? That kind of looks a bit old. And it's like, dude, but it sounds good. Okay, this is all from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this probably one-time only review. I don't really get many guitars, well, I don't get any guitars sent to me or any effects or anything, so it's not one of those channels. If you want to look up the specs for these two instruments, they are below. Like I said, I'm not a gear guy, so I'm not going to give you the rundown of all the technical stuff, because to me, that doesn't matter. What matters is, can it perform, can I play it well, and is it the tone I'm after? Okay, this is Phil from 15 Minute Guitar Practice, saying bye for now. Cheers.